good morning, and thank you for joining us on this special edition of The Insight. Remember, on The Insight is that program where we stray a bit of issues, topics, headlines that help in shaping our nation. And today, we'll confront an undeniable and urgent reality. Nigeria's health sector is not merely challenged, it is in a state of rolling emergency. From persistent scourge of preventable diseases like malaria, high maternal mortality rates, to the rapid brain drain of our most skilled medical personnel, the foundational cracks in our health sector systems are claiming lives and crippling our national potential. Today, we are looking at Nigeria's health emergency, act now or lose more. And to help us x-ray and give postmortem analysis of this issue is Dr. Ejiofor Brendan Mama, the first Vice Chairman, Association of Professional Bodies of Nigeria, immediate past Chairman, Association of Medical Laboratory Scientists of Nigeria, and as well, he is the Assistant Director, Medical Laboratory Services, UNTH, Ituku Ozala, Enugu State. Doctor, it's a pleasure to finally meet you.
Thank you so much.
I hope that trip.
Thank you so much.
That trip to that place was fruitful.
Yes, to the glory of God.
And thank you for obliging me. I know I disturbed you a lot.
There's no problem. It's just a matter of engagement, exigencies and all these things.
We understand.
I'm sorry I've not been able to honor your invitation to some engagement.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, my viewers.
Yes. So, Doctor, today we are looking at the Nigerian health sector. It's become an emergency case. And let me start with, it's been reported that about 7,600 suspected cases of Lassa fever and 116 deaths reported across 21 states in Nigeria in this 2025 alone. And then, going forward, one will want to ask, why is Nigeria still losing hundreds of lives yearly to preventable diseases like Lassa fever?
Thank you so much, my uncle. When you ask about this situation where we lose thousands of people and reporting cases of Lassa fever on a yearly basis, because it's seasonal and we have not been able to contain it, it's just because of one major thing: funding.
Funding?
Yes, inadequate training and unconducive environment where people are working. Because in 2001, the African heads of states gathered in our capital, Federal Capital Territory, to resolve that at least 15% of annual budget should be allocated to health sector. And that is about 2% above what World Health Organization recommended. And from that 2001 till now, this is 24 years, this thing is hardly met. This year alone, the whopping sum of 47 trillion 900 billion naira was budgeted. And my dear brother, do you want to know how much was allocated to health sector?
We're eager to know, Doctor.
Just 2.8 trillion naira, which is just about 5.1%. Far below what the World Health Organization recommended. Far below what they agreed in 2011 in Abuja. And all these things have been happening. The highest administration that allotted up to 6.5% to health sector was the former president of this country, Chief Olusegun Obasanjo. That was in 2007 when he wants to leave office. Yaradua came, sustained it to 6.1, and then unfortunately we lost Yaradua. In 2014, the highest then was 6.6 by Goodluck Jonathan. And since then, it has been dwindling. And a lot of things are happening. And most of the issue we are having in the country today is that the capable hands are leaving the country on a daily basis. Okay. Report has it that for the past 3 years, about 46,000 nurses have left the country. Why more than 12,000 medical doctors left the country, and over 6,800 medical lab scientists have left the country and look for greener pasture, and look for better payments. As we are talking to you, if not resolved, the Nigerian medical doctors in the umbrella of the resident doctors have planned to embark on strike by 12 midnight today.
Please
All because
take
of
that again.
Yes, the National Association of Resident Doctors across the 36 states and FCT have resolved to go on strike by 12 midnight this today, 31st day of October, just because of poor funding and a lot of areas not paid. So what we're just trying to say is that when the funding, because we see to whom much expected, much should be given. And insecurity is the major cause of the problem, because most of money that's supposed to go to health sector is going down to the security sector. And because of that, that area is lacking, and people always look for a better place where they can make living and make life better. A lot of things are going on in the society. And when during the outbreak of COVID-19, that was in 2020, from that time, though it was a blessing in disguise, because by that time we had only about not up to 6 molecular laboratories in the country. But the outbreak of that COVID-19 was able to open the eyes of the people across the globe that there is need for us to equip our health sectors.
Okay.
And then, as we are talking in this country now, we have over 45 molecular diagnosis centers in Nigeria. But surprisingly to tell you, not all up to 50% of them are functional. Oh. Immediately there was a recession of this COVID-19. Everybody folded his or her arms and then be looking. So why wouldn't there be outbreak of Lassa fever? Because we have already lost our guards and believe that all is uhuru, whereas all is not uhuru. People are losing their lives on a daily basis. And above all, even the universal health coverage that plan to give good health to the populace has not been met. Since 2015, we'll be targeting that by 2030, everybody will have access to good health care. How far has it gone? In the country now, we have at least 35,000 primary health centers. And I want to tell you that not up to 25% of them is working effectively. And I want to give credit to the governor of Enugu State, Dr. Peter Ndubesimba, for taking that good step of establishing type 2 primary health centers across the 260 wards in Enugu State. And we are charging him in the last technical working group committee meeting we had at Aaron Suit in Enugu here. We advised him that one thing is building those health centers, another thing is equipping it, and the most important thing is the human resources. Because when you build all these things and people are not there to manage it, it is going to be a mere warehouses. And we recommended that at least 2 health professionals should be in that 260 health centers is planning. At least 2 medical doctors, 2 pharmacists, 2 medical laboratory scientists, not less than 2 nurses, health workers, and the community health work extension officers, lab technicians, lab assistants, physicians. What do we call them? These pharmacy technicians, and even pharmacists should be in that primary health center, because that primary health center is the basis where people can have access to good health care, and it is one of the primary things that the Sustainable Development Goal of 2015 aimed at, to take good health down to the grassroots. And with that now, you find out that people who have just mere malaria will not travel all the way from Enugu, from Okpukpu, from Igogoro, from Wachi, down to UNT just because you are not able to treat complicated malaria. And we can only actualize that if we equip our hospitals and also man it with professionals. And that is where the area of this association of professional bodies come into play, because we are advocating for professionalism. Whoever is working, if you're a carpenter, be a professional in it. You don't put a round peg in a square hole and expect things to work. Okay. So that is the major problem why we are still experiencing. How many diagnosis centers will be able to identify that Lassa fever you are talking about? How many trained molecular biologists are there? Medical laboratory scientists are there to manage it. So that is why on a yearly basis we keep on hearing that people are losing their lives to one communicable disease or the other. And we charge the government to brace up. We are not mindful of the effort of President Ahmed Tinubu. He also, I think, he allotted about 45 billion naira to primary health center, but it was skewed to the north. About 8,000 health centers that are getting that money is spread across 18 states in the north. So those in the south will also benefit from it.
So, Doc, sorry to cut in. You mean to tell me that the down south is cut off from accessing that?
From the information within my reach, that is what I gathered. But I believe, subsequently, he will remember the southern part of the country.
Okay. A lot of information to unpack, and I know you've spoken to it, but I will still ask that question. I want to know, though you've given me numbers and others, but how prepared is Nigeria's healthcare system able to dictate, respond rapidly to any emerging infectious disease? Talk about Ebola, even diarrhea. We've mentioned Lassa fever. I want to know, let's speak to those practical numbers that you did mention again.
Okay, thank you so much, my brother. You know, I told you that during the outbreak of that COVID, I think it was in February 19 or so in 2020 in Lagos, the Nigeria health sector, both private and public, do not have an adequate equipment to even detect that COVID. Okay. In the name of this PCR, polymerase chain reaction machine. Apart from Lagos, Urua, and some others south here, we don't have. But during the outbreak of that COVID, they were able to establish about 45 molecular diagnosis centers. Okay. And with this now, I want to tell you that not up to 25% of them is working. So how will they be able to detect? And even the expert trained on that, that's as the figure I gave you, that over 6,800 medical lab scientists who are trained in that across this, the 774 local governments in this country have left for a greener pasture. So new hands must be trained, and also those equipment must be serviced. From 2020 to now is 5 years, and most of this equipment needs what? Routine maintenance, and in the end, it has to be optimally used. So immediately the COVID was announced to have been eradicated, people now lost their gas and then continue their normal way. The only way we can do this is to ensure that we equip our diagnosis centers, which is the major thing, because not all fever is malaria. Okay. Some of them are caused by hemorrhagic, hemorrhagic fever and all these things. And the only way you can distinguish them is by doing what? Is by carrying out medical laboratory tests.
Okay. Doctor, let's continue along this line. Recently, I don't know if you saw that headline about COVID scare in Lagos. Hospitals are reported to be having repeated cases of malaria, cough, aches, and it's been attributed to the fact that they are suspecting that maybe perhaps COVID could be back to the country. I wanted to hear more of that issue, but I want to ask in that line, how would Nigerians, or how can Nigerians protect themselves daily from such deadly diseases, in line with what we are saying, that the trained individuals have japa, that will need more retraining, we need to make available more laboratories. But I want to ask, how can Nigerians protect themselves? Because at the end of the day, we are left to our fate.
Yes, thank you so much. The God of Africans, the God of Nigeria is always strong, and there is so much on our side. Remember, during the outbreak of COVID-19, it was speculated that Nigerians would be, the corpses would be on the streets, but God did not allow that to happen. But surprisingly, immediately they announced that, they have tackled COVID-19 head-on. Everybody lost guard. Even most of us in the health sector. You see people consulting without nose mask. And then if it were there, while in the studio now, I will put on my nose mask and all these things. Yes. All those preventive measures should also be. The only thing is that we have not totally eradicated COVID. Okay. If we keep on testing, you find out that some people are still having different variants, different strains of this COVID. But the only thing we did is that we have developed immunity against it. And that is why it seems that maybe it's already been eradicated. No, all those people that are having all those symptoms you mentioned now, seizing, coughing, and chest pain, and all these things, if you carry out tests, don't be surprised. It could be COVID. But the only thing is that our system has already, taken charge, and within few months, it's just a flu, and within few days or so, you come over it. So what am I saying in effect? We should not completely lose guard. That your hand sanitizer should always be in your pocket. That your private outfit, be it health or commercial, make sure you have a running water outside there. Whoever is coming should wash his or her hands. And also, make sure you maintain the coughing etiquette. Because most of all, before you know it, if it's a reflector, before you know, you cover your mouth and then sneeze into it. And when I come in, you now give me your hand to shake. And by the end of the day, I will not only contaminate myself, while driving, I will contaminate my steering, and I will not sanitize it. You might not be going to car wash every day. And I want to use this opportunity to tell people, while washing your car, it's very, very important that on a daily basis, you wash your steering.
Okay.
Even if you don't wash, to sterilize it.
But that's one place that we really wash.
We rarely go there. We rarely go there. It's only when we go to car wash, and most of them don't even. After shaking you now, the next thing is open my door and then go and contaminate my steering, and it will be there waiting for me. Depending on the strain, some viruses could last up to 2-3 days. Some can die immediately. But because of that, it's very, very important. Have that your hand sanitizer in your pocket. It is not all uhuru. Apart from COVID, any other communicable disease can still come up, and it will go a long way in preventing you. And most of people who adhere to the usage of personal protective equipment in the laboratory are in health sector. Then, when there was outbreak of COVID, they were not infected because they are used to it. So, because they show for face, that they say, you don't know who carries it, and that is why you apply what we call universal precaution. Treat everybody as though such a person has infectious disease. So with this, my uncle, I think if we go along that, I'm just coming from Lagos, I had that news, and that is what we discussed, topic of discussion. Let us go back to those preventive measures we are using. Let us not completely throw away our gas and believe that all is uhuru. Apart from COVID, there are a lot of, because we have a lot of emerging and re-emerging diseases going on globally, not only in Nigeria. And as I'm talking in this studio now, something might even take me, by the next 30 minutes, you see me in Lagos. From Lagos to Dubai and all that. That is how we are carrying all those strains of infections across. So it has become a global village, and we have to take that precaution.
All right. Doc, while we're talking, there are a lot of things you're unraveling and unpacking that I would want to ask more questions, but I'll keep them aside. Let us go into the primary healthcare sector. Okay. You've talked about what the government of Enugu State is doing.
Yes.
But I bet Enugu State, we're looking at Nigeria
as a whole.
And I want to ask, in the area of primary healthcare, why is it that our primary healthcare centers are still dysfunctional? Because from the little I've learned from what you're saying, is the key in healthcare services in Nigeria, but they are very much dysfunctional. And I want to ask, what can we do?
The only thing we can do, first of all, we have to increase the amount of fund we'll release to the health sector, and also make sure that we create an enabling environment, because these 35,000 primary health centers I told you about, 85% of them are in rural area. And I want to let you know that life in those rural areas are not quite comfortable. Most health workers will always like to stay in the city, and that is why there is no balance in the distribution of health workers between the urban and the rural sector. And the latest issue of insecurity, insurgency has already worsened it, because nobody will want to stay in a community where somebody can waylay you or even come and invade your house overnight. If we improve our security, just as we're advising that our technical working group, that the indigenous people who are trained in those health sector, those areas of specialty should be encouraged to go and then help their people. Okay. If possible, even be on bond. Train them from university. Give them condition, because the fear is that after training them, they might leave the country for the greener pasture. But if we make the environment conducive and also have a legal backup, that after training such a person will stay back in the community where he or she was born to develop that area, it will go a long way. And also, in 1999, there is a national health insurance scheme, but that was implemented in 2005. We'll call it National Health Insurance Scheme. Now, it is now National Health Insurance Act of 2022. That one is to ensure that item 3.8 in the Universal Health Core and in Sustainable Development Goal, which is universal health coverage for all, is maintained. This time around, it is good to let you know that there is improvement after that act. At about 19.2 million Nigerians have enrolled, but I want to tell you that about 95% of them are in urban centers. So that is why we are challenging people, the governments in power, to ensure that all those primary health centers should be well equipped, and that they should serve as the HMO for people who are ready to use that place. Equip the place with a good equipment, make sure there is enough drugs, and also make sure there are personnel there to manage the place. By the end of the day, let them get quality health services, which is the major aim of that NHIA Act 2022. So with this now, you find out that we'll be able to solve our problems to the BRS minimum. Once we keep this insecurity out of it, and also make life better, amenities also be there, good network, and that is why I think have to also bring it down to Enugu State. Enugu State government is trying in terms of a good network, but the only thing, it has to do more about the insecurity. People are still being invaded in the communities, and then much work has to be done there. So with this, you find out that once we uniformly distribute health workers to the rural areas and few in the centers, we can also encourage them by making sure that those people in rural areas are well paid, even better paid, to encourage them to stay more than those people in city, so that it will not be an inducement. You won't have any reason to be in the city when you are well paid in the villages. So with that now, my dear brother, it will go a long way in solving our problems.
Okay. While you were speaking, you mentioned the HMOs.
Yes.
And I want to ask, from your experience in Nigeria and outside the country, do you believe that the HMOs, talking about the national insurance schemes and all that, are the best way to go to make primary health care accessible and affordable for Nigerians?
Yes, I think I have to give credit to former President Olusegun Obasanjo, who brought that initiative in 2005. The hospital maintenance officers are the hospitals that, as you are here, you choose such a hospital where you can have access to Medicare at a reduced amount of money. But even in UNTH, where I practice, and other health centers where these services are being rendered, there's one glitch there. For you to generate the code, the so-called code, it takes how many hours, to the point that if you are not patient, you might even abandon it and then go and get your conventional access to healthcare. So that would have been the best if really we uphold what is there and make things seamless. Because with that now, even some selective surgeries is being done free of charge, CS free of charge, and even a laboratory test not up to 10% to the best of my knowledge. And with that, it will reduce this out-of-pocket expenditure. And in the end, that dream of having people attain at least age of 70 years as our life expectancy will be actualized. So that is it. It's the best way to go, but the management has not been living up to standard.
Okay.
And if the federal government can beam their searchlight on it, because earlier than now, it's only the public servant that are assessing it.
Yes.
But even those people in the street now, with this NHIA, can have access to it so long you maintain your fund.
I was going to ask that, how do we make it accessible for the artisans, the traders, the marketing?
It has been open to all. It's just that people do not have the information.
So the challenge here is information.
Information. If you have access to information, it's really available.
All right.
And there's a lot of improvement in that area.
All right. You know, while we were talking, you just gave us an information about the resident doctors embarking on strike, and this has been a very, should I use the word malignant? That's what people use. That's what when people talk about this MS, it says either it's a malignant tumor or something.
Yes.
And I should say that the case of resident doctors has becoming malignant as far as healthcare sector is concerned in Nigeria. And I want to ask, are you at liberty to speak about what these challenges are?
Well, I'm not their spokesperson.
No, I know.
And the only thing is just that it's advisable you have the contact of their leadership here, so that they will, tell the people why they are going on strike, and then let the people know the reason. But the only advice I want to tell anybody is this: he who throws a stone into the market, it will either hit your relative or your mother.
Okay.
So it's not all about strike. There's need for us to, judge than war. When as much as they have, explored the necessary avenue for dialogue, more has to be done, because a lot of lives will be lost. And life is not only sacred, not only expensive, but also irreplaceable.
All right.
It might be your relative. Now, for somebody is in the world now, that is in oxygen, intensive care unit. A baby might be in incubator now, waiting for you to save his life. So, in as much as I know, the federal government has not been doing it all well, there is need for us to still engage in more dialogue than embarking on strike. But I believe if you invite the leadership, he'll give you the details of what really how to go about it.
Okay. Anyway, I will leave that to when we have the resident doctors. But I was going to ask how this impacts on consultants, other health care practitioners in let's talk about the UNTH, for example, because I know that, yes, you don't speak for them, but their action, one way or the other, like you've mentioned, could impact on the effectiveness of discharging the function of other healthcare workers in the system.
One thing I want to let you know, my anchor, is that in health sector, in health system, we are team.
Okay.
Just like when we say we are team, if a goalkeeper says he doesn't need the back man, you find out that when the pressure is much, even a cleaner is very, very important. So they are playing a very vital role in the health sector. We need the team to be on ground, because the chain is as strong as its weak joint. So everybody, all hands must be on deck. The doctors, the nurses, the medical laboratory scientists, the pharmacists, and also down to the technicians, the morticians. Everybody is very important. It's a team. One cannot do without the other. And trying to subjugate it means, you are putting the round peg in the square hole. So that is the issue there. And it would have negative impact on the service delivery. Okay. And that is why we're advising. I personally is advising them to, reconsider that strike and go for. Because President Tinubu has been trying, listening to health workers. I know all cannot be done in a day. In a piecemeal, it will be resolved.
Okay. All right, Doctor. On that note, we'll go on a short break, and when we return, we'll continue to probe on these issues.
Okay.
Hello, I'm Debra Wakoba. I am Chidimike Mede.
I am Uche Osai.
I'm Chiwendo Ifeonwankwe.
My name is Obobina Samson.
Please keep watching Aneke TV, or you can visit us on our socials like Instagram, Facebook, X, TikTok, or YouTube, all at Aneke TV.
This is Aneke TV. We move with the world.
All right. Thank you for still staying with us on the Insight. And we've been speaking to Dr. Ejiofor Brendan Mama, the first Vice Chairman, Association of Professional Bodies of Nigeria, APBN, yes. And he is equally currently the Assistant Director of Medical Laboratory Services, UNTH, Ituku Ozara, Enugu State. Doctor, thank you for giving us insight on a number of issues. Before I want to go into the other issue I want to raise with you, talking about the JAPA syndrome, I want to ask, because we talked about the healthcare system in Nigeria, and it seems that there is a working model in Enugu State.
Yes.
Can you elaborate on the system they've adopted and why other states in Nigeria should toe that same line?
Thank you so much. Governor Dr. Peter Nubisimba is a man of the moment in Enugu State, because since he came into Enugu State, there are a lot of positive changes, be it in the health sector, infrastructure, and to some extent, security. And when he came on board, instead of following the path of his predecessors, developing local government, he chose to bring governance down to the wards that elected him. And in Enugu State, we have 260 wards, which is the best thing anybody can do. Because you know, when you allot any project to the local government, some people, some of those big wigs, will hijack it, and it will not get down to the ward level. So when he came on board, he started developing the 260 wards in Enugu State. As we are talking now, not less than about 85% of those 260 wards have type 2 primary health center near completion. And not only that, you are aware of the smart school. It cut across the wards. And that will go a long way in bringing development to the grassroots. So with that now, our advice to him in the technical working group I mentioned earlier was to ensure that all those buildings will not be a mere warehouse. That people, train people, because Enugu State is blessed with institutions that are training health workers. University of Nigeria is leasing not less than 5,000 health professionals, doctors, medical laboratory scientists, pharmacists, radiotherapists, physiotherapists, radiographers, and all of that crossover, even down to technicians. Are we talking of Enugu State University Teaching Hospital? Are we talking of Federal School of Dental Technology, which is now College of Dental Technology, degree awarding? Are we talking of the SOMAS, State University Medical and Applied Science in Igbaino? And most of these schools are training a lot of health professionals. We have adequate number of them. And they should not only be trained and be wasted and be allowed to japa. They should be engaged at those 260 wards so that they will be productive and then also generate revenue for the state. So we have to thank him for that initiative and advise him to ensure that that human resource is very, very important. One thing is building the health facility. Another thing is equipping it. Another thing is giving those equipment a manly look by ensuring that people who man those equipment are trained professionals who are trained to do that. And with that, my brother, it will go a long way in bringing good health and also prolong our life so that in Enugu State we'll be able to beat, because currently the life expectancy in Nigeria is about 66.62%. Let us scale it up to 85, which is doable if we have adequate health system, well managed by professionals, reduce the costs, because out-of-pocket expenditure is really killing the people of Nigeria and Enugu State in particular. Earlier than now, how much are you buying Panadol, ordinary Panadol? How much are you buying it now? Are we talking of malaria? And peradventure, your wife get pregnant, and maybe he doesn't know that Enugu State is rendering free maternity care. You enter into one private a hospital for cesarean section, how much will it cost? And there's need for advocacy so that people will know what the government is doing, so that they will use the opportunity to, get the services within their reach, instead of spending from their pockets.
Okay. While you were talking, you keep mentioning about equipments, machines, and all that, and that led me to thinking about the infrastructures in hospitals. And I'm thinking, and I want to ask, what infrastructural deficiencies in hospitals are most critical? Because I've heard you mention the machines that we need. This morning I was engaging with a consultant gynecologist, and she was talking about cancer issues that I would ask you also. She talked about mammogram, and then the machines not being even available beyond perhaps maybe UNTH, could be one only, and could break down as well. So can you speak to this?
When you come to health sector, one thing you might have, you might clock a patient and find out it might be anything you are doing is speculative until diagnosis is done. And to run that diagnosis, you can't do it with your mere hands. You need instruments, sophisticated instruments that can detect these diseases at molecular level. And all those equipment are very expensive, but they are all buyable if we are committed to it. So, like in diagnosis centers, like I mentioned earlier than now, I don't see any reason why the 35,000 primary health centers will not have a polymerase chain reaction machine that can detect any disease at the shortest time possible. And also, because of the human resource we're endowed with, even if you say you want to employ 10,000 medical officers and even medical laboratory scientists, and you do it because the institutions are in the country, employ them and then train them and retrain from time to time. So, and also in the area of surgery and all those equipment needed for surgery should be provided, so that whenever there is any need for surgery, they should be attended to. And all those need for cancer, as we said earlier, be it chemotherapy or any other radiotherapy they want to use, it should be available at the primary health center. Because Nigeria is well blessed, richly blessed. The only thing the problem we have is that poor management. We don't manage our resources, and it always gets to the wrong hands. And that will also bring us to the importance of what monitoring. One thing is releasing the fund. Another thing is ensuring that that fund you release is adequately used. Every day you hear people, our leaders, losing our money, and at the end of the day, nothing significant is done. Some that were even caught were given presidential pardon. So all those things are what we really have to, take into cognizance and then tackle it head on. Our equipment is very, very important for radiography, for laboratory, for the doctors in surgery, and all the equipment for the nurses. Even I equip our bed. Right. A situation where somebody will need oxygen and we say we're out of oxygen should not be what we experience in that primary health center. It is doable. I was in Akwa Ibom last year and I see how well equipped their primary health centers are. Okay. I was at Eket. I was at Eket. Among the primary health center, you see how well equipped and they're well, and we can do it in Enugu State. Right. And I believe PBN is going to do it.
All right. Let's go back to national, the issue of Japa in Nigeria. And speaking to a lot of doctors, they talk about the workload, the crest of workload that they have. That there have been instances where doctors themselves, medical practitioners, collapse on duty. They talk about a lot of infrastructural issues. They talk about remuneration as part of the reason why they keep living. And I want to ask, why are you still here, given your experience?
I am still here because I have the interest of my fatherland.
Okay.
And I still have a lot to do. Even if I travel, I only go there for a training and bring it back. Because if all of us leave, who will take care of that your old mother in a village? Who will take care of that your wife? By the end of the day, if we now lose the best hands, just because we are traveling for greener pastures, how will we attain that goal of getting 70 years as our life expectancy? So you choose your priority. That we are here doesn't mean that everything is comfortable, that all is uhuru. It's just service for motherland. And the workload really is increasing on a daily basis.
Okay. And what can we do to foster that?
The only thing we can do is to employ more hands, give them a conducive environment, incentive, and let them feel homely. Okay. And with that, you find out that some people will still stay back. And it also takes us back to our education system. Even when you get down to school, the lecturer-student ratio is very, 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 very low.
Okay.
And with that, they keep on churning out half-baked. Unless you are industrious on your personal ground, there is need for us to always train and retrain even after graduation. So most of them travel overseas to get a better knowledge of what they are doing. Some are living for money, and some also living for insecurity reason. So when we make all these things available in the country, I don't see any reason why anybody should leave his or her fatherland.
Okay. All right. Having said that, Doctor, before I let you go, briefly, I want us to draw from your experience fighting these diseases. Talk about Ebola, talk about COVID-19 and all that. Can you share a little from that experience as a perspective for others?
During COVID, my role in Ebola was not quite, although I participated in the media advocacy and all these things, but I was actively involved in COVID-19, advocating for the need for equipping our health centers, both national and local, news everywhere I was there, and also monitor what is going on in the field. Because one thing is making requests, and also with my input and some of other people who participated in some program, were able to increase the what do we call it, the call duty allowance, hazard allowance of the members of staff or health workers, because then it was just about 35,000 naira, which could not buy us hand gloves. We also advocated for some, locally made nose mask, which after people, immediately after I left the studio, within 2 days later, you see people, making this, because at a point, we were short of all those things. There was limited quantity of nose masks in the streets. So with that, and we also went down to the grassroots, telling people, even the churches, advising them on the need to do what? Adhere strictly to these precautions that are needed. We advise churches to ensure that there is water, not only water, spacing. While in the church, we took it down to all the streets. So, and with that, it was able to yield a lot of results. We even went down to the markets during that time. We did our best then, and to the glory of God, we were able to contain that spread of COVID,
Ebola,
to the nearest minimum. Don't mind me, I say HIV because I'm in HIV unit in University of Nigeria Hospital, where we have already targeted that by year 2030, there will be no new transmission of HIV. The World Health Organization is doing that. And whenever I have opportunity, I always tell people that is doable, because earlier than now, the mother-to-child transmission was very high, but it has been reduced to about 0.38%. And those 0.38% of mother-to-child transmissions are those people, those mothers who did not access antenatal care. And with that, you find out that even HIV, which is one of the communicable diseases, the World Health Organization is fighting hard, and they have already they're almost meeting their 95% vision. 95% of the human populace knowing their HIV status, 95% of those people who know their status having access to treatment, and then 95% of those people who have access to treatment having what we call viral suppression. And once the viral suppression is achieved, there will be no transmission from infected person. And also the law prohibiting discrimination among people living with HIV has also gone a long way in giving life to people infected with HIV. So sorry I was mentioning HIV, though it's still part of it.
Yes.
I'm doing well about that, but it has to be mentioned.
All right. Doctor, I'm already getting signals that I should let you attend to that, but I can't do that without asking for your last word of advice to our government, to Nigerians concerning the state of emergency of our healthcare.
Thank you so much. I always echo my advice on the incident that happened 4 years ago. That was COVID. When the COVID broke out, all those rich people were locked in Nigeria. They were now forced to face the mess they created. And God doesn't sleep. We are not praying for any other outbreak. But please, are you a local government chairman, a councillor? Make sure you develop the grassroots, health-wise. Make sure that that health center in your community is well equipped. Make sure that you employ health workers that are capable to manage those equipment, and then pay them well and create conducive environments. And above all, health is wealth. I advise people to always check their health status, run your routine tests, more especially check your BP regularly, and also to the government, please, 5.1% annual budget to health sector is abysmally low. Remember, you people gathered in Abuja in 2001 to agree that at least 15% of the annual budget should be allocated to health. And that should also go down to the states. While the state is making their annual budget, they should also put that into cognizance, so that in the end we have adequate funds. And also a task force to monitor how the money disbursed is being utilized. So with that, I think I have to thank you for having me in the program.
All right.
And then may God bless.
All right. All right. You, our audience, you've heard every minute of delay translates into lost citizens, lost productivity, and lost faith in our future. It's time to act or lose more. And we're grateful to you, Dr. Ejiofor Brendan Mama, the first Vice Chairman, Association of Professional Bodies of Nigeria, immediate past Chairman, Association of Medical Laboratory Scientists of Nigeria, and presently the Assistant Director of Medical Laboratory Services, UNTH, Ituku Ozala, Enugu State, Nigeria. Thank you for speaking with us. Thank you so much. Yes. So, and to you, our wonderful viewers, remember that your views matter to us. Reach us with the hashtag @Aneke all on our social media handles, Facebook, X, TikTok, and YouTube. Till we come your way, same time next week. I'm your host, Uche Osai.